So one day, I almost decided to give up. One day, the executive assistant put me through, and the first words from him were, "I've been waiting for your call." I could have fallen off my chair. Welcome to Micropreneur Accelerator podcast. I'm the Micropreneur Accelerator. My name is Nina Sunday. And today we're going to follow on with a sales hack, following on from last episode around what is a good closing question and the timing for that and the wording of that. So my question is, how many touch points does it take to make a sale? Now, one of the mistakes that people in sales or a self-employed person makes is giving up too soon, not following up. In an earlier episode, I gave you how to ask permission to do a follow-up. So you've got permission to follow up, and usually they thank you. They say, "Thank you for staying in touch." But I want to tell you a story about a time that I nearly gave up, and I'm glad I didn't, because the return on my time investment was way more than the effort involved in staying in touch. Early in my business, I took on board, I would teach speed reading, public classes and company classes, but I did accept a role for a community college to deliver both their own speed reading course, where I had a chance to experiment with my own ideas, and also I ran this mind mapping course, and it was only about 6 people. It was a weekday, and I went round the room at the start. It was a full day workshop, and asked people what their roles were, and some people were students and some people were educators, and the one person said, "I'm the CEO of an insurance company." And in my head, I went, "Oh, this is a really cheap community course. What are you doing here?" But I accepted it. I went, maybe he's just big noting himself. So anyway, at the end of the day, he was impressed. We did a wonderful course on mind mapping. And at the end of the day, he handed me his card and he said, "Contact me and we'll see if we can have you come into my company to deliver this training to our team." So I did. Down the track, I phoned, and his EA answered and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Nina, he's overseas, but leave a message and perhaps you can try some other time." Now, this was very early in my business, before there were such things as CRMs, client relationship management, cloud databases. And really, all I really had was this index card system. Some people today use Excel spreadsheets. Well, in fact, I prefer the index card system. But what I would do is I would just cut up a portrait A4 sheet of paper, cut it up into 4 pieces, and that was the size of my index card. I didn't need it to be cardboard. I wanted it nice and thin. And I would just write the date that I had decided I would call them back. So if he's overseas, I might have said, "When's he back?" "Oh, he'll be back in 2 weeks." So I would have put the date 2 weeks' time. And so I had 2 shoe boxes, one with the person's name and the other with the date. And then I put the card with notes on it, in the date. And so I had all these placeholders for the different months and the different days of the month. So I then would follow up on that day. And if she said, "Oh, well, he's away in another city this week, so try another time." And I always put 2 weeks between calls. And as this went on, I don't know how many times I had to cross out the next date on the person's name and put the left message, LM, left message 1, left message 2, left message 3. So LM1, LM2, LM3. I got sick of just writing the numbers. I just put LM, LM. I had to add pieces of paper. I ran out of paper, just saying, overseas, left message, call back in 3 weeks. overseas. I'm pretty sure it went on for a year, and I was pretty diligent because he had handed me his card and said, call me, I'd like to invite you to speak to my team. So one day, I'd almost decided to give up. One day, the executive assistant put me through, and the first words from him were, I've been waiting for your call. I could have fallen off my chair. I didn't say, I've been calling. I just said, yes. So as it turns out, this CEO had offices in Sydney and Melbourne, and I ended up being flown down to Melbourne. I did it in Sydney. People were very well catered for, so the catering was always very good. And I did speed reading and memory and how to study and how to high performance memory. And because that was my focus, my niche for that decade, I did a lot of business. Now, there was a time when the business actually shut down or changed ownership and it was no longer. And I remember being a little bit sad because they were really my top client. But the point of the story is I didn't give up too soon. In fact, I was not going to give up because the executive assistant never said, Nina, don't call back. She just said, he's not here, try another time. Because I guess she was used to it. In fact, this CEO was famous as being the most travelled CEO on Qantas Airlines. That's how much travelling he did. So I knew that about him and I went, all I have to do is catch him on the one day that he's at his office. He's got an executive assistant, so he must be there sometime. And I kept good notes. In fact, I had so many pages to the notes, I had to put it in a little envelope. But those were the days before CRM databases. So how many touches does it take to make a sale? Well, research suggests that it's about 12 touches. And I've already given you the method earlier about how to handle the don't call us, we'll call you comment or objection when people say, I'm not ready to talk to you about your product or service, which is, well, if I haven't heard from you in 6 weeks, is it okay if I call you then? If I haven't heard from you in 3 months' time, is it okay if I call you then? And if they say no to that, well, how about I give you another call same time next year? Usually they'll at least say yes to that. So I just want you to be aware that you need to keep good records of when you've contacted someone. Don't rely on memory, because if you're contacting at least 7 people a day for your product or service, and believe me, initially you're doing cold calls, but after a while, all your calls are warm. And the only cold call will be when the person that you're wanting to speak to has left the company and now you're introducing yourself to the new person. So it's not really a cold call, it's a warm call. But I started my business with cold calls. And as long as you don't start with, hello, how are you? Don't ever start a cold call with how are you? Yes, start with a question, but don't start with that question because it says, I'm wanting to sell you something. Generally, the best question to ask if it's a cold call is something around, I'm wondering if, and think about the problem that you're solving. I'm wondering if, I think I had to work with a salesperson that had to do, that sold drugs that had to be refrigerated, and for pharmacies that had to prepare these refrigerated drugs and keep them in their fridge, and it took up storage space. Hello, I'm from so-and-so Pharmaceuticals, and I have a quick question for you. I'm wondering if you have a lot of medication that takes up storage in your fridges. If we could provide a medication that has the same purpose but doesn't require refrigeration, could that be of interest to you? Now, what do you think that question is? That's a cold call question that engages their interest, engages curiosity, and also solves a problem that they have. Pharmacies have storage problems when they have to keep medications that require refrigeration. That's a product. It could be a service. We used to ask, I'm wondering, for speed reading, I'm wondering how many people in your office are under pressure to get through tons of reading that just keeps pouring in? And that is not a closed question. Do you have people with tons of information that they have to read? That's a yes or no. But I'm wondering how many people in your office are under pressure, problem, to get through tons of reading, makes it sound painful and heavy, that just keeps pouring in. So it's ongoing and relentless. With sales, and if you're in business, you either are in sales yourself or you have to monitor people that will sell for you. Think about the question to ask that arouses a curiosity. Never start with, how are you? Go with, I have a quick question for you, and try and nail the problem that they've got. Then always get permission to phone them back, and do phone them back, and stay on top of your follow-ups and never give up unless they say, we've already solved that problem, or we don't have any interest, or that's not what we do. Unless they give you an absolute blanket no. I did not have a blanket no, but I kept following up and following up until I got the question, oh, I've been waiting for your call. Now, if you would like to know which CEO I'm referring to, send me a quick email, because it is someone who's very well known in Australia who's now retired. All the best, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Walks through life. Every day is a new beginning.